Welcome back. It's been a while since I sat and did one of these video discussions where we talk about pretentious topics like the New World Order or books or crazy stuff. And so I thought it'd be good to do something like that again. Welcome to my library here in my small apartment where I voraciously feed on paper and words on paper. I don't really have any good discussions about this stuff, so I thought I'd throw this out there and maybe generate some good conversation. Lately I've been reading a book called LSD and the American Experience Storming Heaven by J. Stevens. This came out, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago. And basically everything that the, quote, conspiracy people have talked about when it comes to LSD and its use amongst intelligence groups as an experimental drug, and then its corporatization by big pharma and things like that, and how most of the psychotropic drugs that a large percentage of the population is now on, these are classified. It's in the same category of stuff as LSD. And if you read this book, what you come to find is that there was a very set agenda going on behind the use of LSD and things like that, and it's breaking into the mainstream in the 60s and 70s, and even prior to that with Huxley, Ginsberg, people like that, the Beat movement. But one area that I thought was really fascinating was where Allen Ginsberg describes his experience, where he actually says that one time when he was stripping acid, he sort of felt commissioned to become an apostle of a new, quote, gospel. He describes the entity Molech appearing to him, and again, I realize that this is something that he's experiencing while he's on a psychotropic drug. But I mean, the very fact that he's encountering ancient deities who are commissioning him to go forth as an apostle poet to a new generation. I think that says a lot about the whole 60s, 70s drug revolution. And what it says, I mean, if you think about Molech, I mean, what do we do to worship Molech? Well, you offer Molech your children. And so in this country we have 50 million abortions. I don't think it's an accident that some of the apostles of the new gospel, the gospel of free love, revolution, so forth, so on, which is just the gospel of the old, of the left that's been sort of repackaged and sent out to destroy culture, Western civilization in particular, comes directly from guys who claim that they were commissioned by devils. Now, you can say that I'm crazy, or that someone that talks about this or opposes it's crazy, or that this notion that I'm talking about is crazy, but I mean, I'm not the one claiming to be commissioned by ancient deities named Molech. I mean, Molech is a demon. You don't have to go very far in reading the Old Testament prophets to find out that Molech's not the kind of deity that you want to serve. But that's really what we've been reduced to in this nation, is basically a bunch of even if we don't believe in entities like that, I mean, we're basically just a big fat demon worshipping slob of a nation, and so we're ripe for slaughter, and it can't continue on very long unless there's some sort of miraculous change. Things are basically destined to collapse. And so you also have a lot of, I mean, when you read about Timothy Leary, stuff like that, who's mentioned at length in this book, as well as Huxley. Stuff like the Doors of Perception. And then you match that up with Brave New World, and then connect that with 1984 and things like that. I mean, it's pretty clear that what's going on is not by accident. You have a program designed to scientifically engineer the populace to create the new man, if you will. And the new man consists of a human being who will be merged with biotech, transhumanist notions of becoming God, if you will. The rest of the populace, the dumbed down, controlled masses, will be, of course, sectioned off into basically large ghettos, basically big Comptons or something like that, and eventually will be killed off. And so you'll have then a technocratic elite that will then live on. And so you can look at writers like Ray Kurzweil or someone like that, but actually this stuff goes back a lot further to the Anglo-American model in people like Bertrand Russell or the Huxleys. And this comes out of a social Darwinism. It comes out of Malthusianism, and the idea is that is the perfection of man. We can perfect man without any reference to morality, without any reference to notions of absolutist theology, any kind of metaphysical a priori teachings from philosophy. Those have all been jettisoned, and so now what we have is this completely tech-focused gospel of man becoming God on his own. Now, I don't think that's obviously not going to happen, but they believe that it's going to happen. So that's what we're dealing with. That's the reality of the present world, where we are, free human beings who do believe in morals, who do believe that there is a God. That's what we are fighting against. The technological psychopath elite. Another interesting book that fits into this as well is something I picked up called Spiritual Disciplines. And this is printed by Princeton University. But what it is actually a bunch of scholarly articles that deal with several different religious notions. And of particular interest is Carl Jung's essay, Dream Symbols of the Individuation Process. And what Jung does in this treatise is go through and explain through his psychoanalysis the dreams of a particular patient over a period of a few years. And so he paid special attention to, I think, over 300 dreams of this patient. What he did was analyze and look for patterns, and then use his notion of archetypes to give us an interpretation of what ultimately becomes this sort of alchemical process, the Gnostic idea of this man's process in leaving the constrictions of a patriarchal deity, perceived to be this tyrannical patriarchal deity found in biblical religion, who then progresses out of that into supposed freedom through Gnosticism. And so, again, Carl Jung is a very influential figure. If we look at the disciplines of psychology and psychiatry, you probably, other than Freud, he's probably the number 2 guy. And these theories still dominate. Now, I'm not saying that there's nothing to dream analysis or something like that, but what these notions promote is that, again, this fits in with the LSD movement, it fits in with the transhumanist movement, and it fits in with ideas of the New World Order, because you have a Gnostic teaching that undergirds all of this. And what the Gnostic teaching is basically that man is his own self-emergent deity, and all deities, all gods, are actually just projections of his own psyche. And so we see this in a lot of films. We see this in pop culture consistently. We see this as something that's promoted as a kind of global religion that basically is a big tyranny. It's attempting to displace all traditional forms of religion and introduce now a global religion. And if you read biographies of the Rockefeller family and stuff like that, you'll find that they funded these large ecumenical type movements that then seek to displace traditional religion and establish a new global religion, which ultimately isn't something new. It's just what happened in the garden in Genesis 3, repackaged in a clever deception, a clever guise of man can become his own God. You don't need any external deity. All you need is your own reason and your own mental abilities to, through gnosis, through knowledge, to attain to immortality. And again, that's the lie of the transhumanists. That's the lie of the psychological, academic, technological elite. And it's such an absurd notion to think that because we have advancements in technology, that therefore we could achieve godhood. I mean, it's just like I said, this saturates pop culture, it saturates corporate control media. It's just, everything is just screaming at you that everything is relative, everything is subjective. You are your own God. You don't have to worry about standards of right and wrong. I mean, that's the idea of the mean patriarchal deity that comes at you with authority and tells you this is wrong, this is right, do this, worship me, and so forth, so on. But what do we see when people go away from that? What happens to cultures that do that? Well, like we saw with Molech, when the Israelites went away from God and they went towards these deceptive lies, everything crumbles. The entire structure falls apart, and you have people giving their children away to Molech. And so that's the point that we've reached in this culture. And so even though we might want to sit around and think that this is modernity, and we don't believe in superstition, we don't believe in these archaic notions of possession, demon, spirit, so forth, so on, we actually operate in the exact same worldview. Things haven't changed very much. All that's changed is the exterior dressing of the packages that are sold to us. So don't fall prey to the corporate manufactured counterculture that tells you that you can be your own God, that being some sort of hipster, hot topic shopping emo, scumbag piece of trash, that's some desirable thing. When you give into that, when you follow that, you are just giving into the very thing that they want you to give into. And so, being counterculture is something that can be a good thing, especially when a culture becomes completely degenerate and disgusting, as ours is. And so I want to tell you and challenge you that if you really want to be counterculture, the way to do it is to be counterculture in a high culture way, or to become educated, to see through these manufactured structures